everyone, this is Ruggirello. I'm a real estate agent here in Connecticut, licensed in Mass and Rhode Island also. I'm here with Suzanne Mazzarella today. We are going to do a series about buying a house. Suzanne, tell me about yourself. You're the lender.
Yes, I am the lender. I am Suzanne Mazzarella. I am a loan officer here in Connecticut, licensed in Mass, Rhode Island. I have been doing it for about 20 years. Yeah. Love what I do.
Yeah.
Making people find, helping them find their dream home. Hard buyers, good buyers, doesn't matter what kind of buyer. We always make the end. We get to the finish line. We help people find their dream home, and we have a lot of stories along the way.
Yeah. I think I like to explain you to my clients as you find the gray area. Right. So there's a lot of black and white. Right.
And anyone can do the black and white.
Right.
And it's always nice to do the black and white, but you know what? It's very beneficial when you can go into those gray areas, hard loans that people don't want to dive into. Mm-hmm. We work a little harder, but knowing that we won is a huge success. And that's the clear to close on those gray area buyers is what we strive for.
Okay. So I think that when you're up against other buyers in a market like this, it's very important to know your loans. And you've been doing this, like you said, for a long time. You've helped a lot of people.
Yes.
And so being able to find the in-between, work the hard deals, it's so important.
And the loans, as you said, some lenders, they like to put you in a program that they feel is where you should be.
Yeah.
I place them in what is going to benefit that buyer immensely.
Yeah.
We always try to, with the market being the way it is, conventional is the biggest right now.
Yeah.
I will rescore you. I will pull your credit up. I will help you become a conventional buyer to win in this market.
Tell me what rescoring means.
So a lot of clients that come to me, if they have great, high scores, wonderful. Some don't. They may be at a 630, a 640, where yes, we could do a conventional loan, but it's not going to be pretty, with the rates being where they are.
Okay.
So the first thing I tell them is, let's just do something. Let's go in. We simulate. We show what can we do to boost your credit.
Yeah. So you're going in and telling them, if you make a payment on this or do something here, it'll boost their credit up.
Right. I mean, even after 20 years, I love credit repairing.
Yeah.
Because they have faith in me. And once they have their faith in me, we will get them to where they need to be.
Yeah.
And I always tell my clients, just if you do this exactly the way I tell you to do it, I promise you, your score's going to hit here. You're going to have a better payment. You're going to have a better rate. You're going to feel better about your home.
And that's the importance of knowing what you're doing versus going with somebody, say, that doesn't have the experience, or sometimes I tend to find that there are certain banks that, they have to follow these certain, the black and white versus the grays.
Yes.
So,
and that is for sure. And I always say this, and I tell you as well, I tell my clients, because your credit is everything. The payment, what the payment will be, what the interest rate will be, the PMI, if you have mortgage insurance in your payment.
What's PMI?
So if you're not putting 20% down, you have private mortgage insurance.
And you have to have
PMI. So that is also reflected off of your score.
Yeah.
So
and that's included in your monthly payment too.
Okay. So I always say, here's where we are now, but here's what I can do for you, because I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to buy this house, and I don't want you to live for your mortgage payment.
Yeah.
I want you to enjoy your house and feel like this is a payment we can comfortably afford.
I think it's also important when we're dealing with buyers to sometimes not go with, this is how much I qualify for, but it's more about your monthly payment. What do you feel comfortable?
And that's how I start.
Paying? Yeah.
That is exactly, I have clients that say, I'd like to get qualified. I'd like to know what I qualify for. So I always ask, what is the comfort number for you
Yeah.
first. So I know.
Yeah.
And then I will give them, here is what you can afford at that number that you're comfortable with, but here's what you're pre-qualified to.
Yeah. Because it could be more, and maybe they could say, we could finagle some numbers and make a little bit more of a payment. Yeah. So I think that number is more important.
It definitely is.
The monthly payment.
The monthly payment. And that's that's driving this market now, especially with the house prices up, the rates up. I tell every client I speak with, like, please call me. Let's run a payment on whatever you're looking at, because I want you to fall in love with the payment before you fall in love with the house.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's hard.
That's very huge, you know?
So a lot of time, I'm the one that gets the first call. Like, hi, I want to see a house. And I'm like, hey, great, let's do that. But you need to call Suzanne first. So the lender really should be the first step in the whole entire home buying process.
For sure.
Yeah. Yes. And there's pre-approvals and pre-qualifications. What's the difference between those?
Right. So when I get the call, some people are apprehensive that have the good credit of, is this going to hurt my credit?
Right.
So we can do a hard pull, we can do a soft pull. Doing a soft pull, we can see all of the debt. It's just not going to be a hard hit to their inquiry or to their score.
Yeah.
Still shows us all of their debt. They'll call to get qualified. I work up their debt to income ratio. We ask for pay stubs immediately. Even though we have the pay stubs, we're still in the pre-qualification period.
Section. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So some people
So what makes it a pre-approval?
So if we take those pay stubs and we take your bank statements and we take your W-2s and we actually send them into underwriting and have that underwriter sign off on all of those things, now we're pre-approved.
So it has to do with getting sent to underwriting.
Correct.
Is a
approval,
not just a pre-qualification.
Correct. And I can tell you that a lot of times with buyers, they, as you know right now, they want a pre-approval more than ever.
Yeah.
And in all the years of doing this, most people come to me and say, we want to be pre-approved because we want to be able to let if we find a home, we want to let that seller know we've already gone through underwriting. And I tell people the pay stubs, the W-2s, the bank statements, what happens is once your loan goes to underwriting, those items are backing up the story that we tell on that application.
So when it comes to like monthly payment, right? It has to do with your credit, kind of, and what you can afford and all that.
Your credit is what drives this whole scenario.
Yeah.
Like I said, the private mortgage insurance is based on how much you're putting down plus what your credit score is.
Okay.
Your rate is what your credit score is. Everything is driven by that credit score.
Yeah.
So we really, really, what puts us out in front of people more than I think when other lenders is we spend the money. We say, let's rescore you. I don't care if you have a 650 credit score. Let's get you to 680 because that next price break is going to give you a better payment.
Yeah. And then so it's we talked about PMI.
Yes.
We talked about interest rates. Who the heck knows, right?
Know. Who the heck knows?
Who the heck knows about interest rates right now?
Yes.
And then
on a daily.
Yeah, no kidding.
On a daily.
And then your monthly payment also encompasses your escrows.
Right. So taxes and insurance. And so when I'm qualifying someone, what property are you looking at? Or even what are you surfing around? Let's look at something because we don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll take a property they've been looking at. I look the taxes up. We get exact payments, taxes. We use an estimated homeowner's insurance. And we give a full breakdown of principal and interest, homeowner's insurance, taxes, private mortgage insurance if you're not putting 20% down, and then a total payment.
Yeah.
And
so I honestly, sometimes it's not even yes, the home price is important, but when I'm talking to my clients, taxes in that town are important.
Yes.
So important.
Yes.
And I also think that when it comes to closing costs, which we will talk about in a second, you think that these are my closing costs and that money is just going to nothing, but it's going into your escrows, which come back to you.
Right.
It's really like a little savings.
Talking about escrows, and that's what I tell people. So I try to explain it as a new buyer. People really don't understand. So
Right.
I always tell them part of your closing cost, a big part of your closing cost, are building your escrows. What are you building? Well, we always say 8 months of taxes, 1 year and 3 months of homeowners insurance.
Oh, okay.
And how I explain it to them is, so let's say we closed in June. Well, July 1st, in that town that you're buying in, 6 months of taxes are due.
Yeah.
So we're going to need to get 6 months
Right away.
to pay that.
Yeah.
Plus, you need a 2-month buffer. And that 2-month buffer is if the taxes go up. If anything changes, we have that. So you're not short in your
Right.
account.
Yeah.
And then they say, well, I don't understand. Why are we paying for those taxes up front if it's in my mortgage payment? Does that mean that they're not going to be in my payment for 6 months? No, because what happens is every time you make your mortgage payment,
You pay a
we
portion.
take those taxes and insurance out and we put them in your escrow account. You get your mortgage statement each month, you're going to see that escrow account grow.
Yeah.
That's your savings. That's
Yeah.
your money towards your escrows. Then July 1st comes again.
Yeah. It's July
just-
and January usually.
In certain
right?
towns.
Yeah.
Quarterly in some areas, semi in some areas. But I always like to explain it to them, as you're making those payments, you're going to see that money growing in your account. Now it's time to pay the taxes. We disperse them.
Yeah.
But you got to keep making
But it goes
those
back to
payments.
0, and then you have to fill
build
it again.
And
Yeah.
most people are like, oh, I understand it now.
Yeah.
And that's really important because people don't understand about what the escrows really,
Especially first-time home buyers, they don't understand the escrow part of it.
So I tell people, and this is funny, and you may have lines throughout your years, but I always tell people, if you do a mortgage with me, you're going to be able to do my job by the time you're done. Because I like them to know everything all the way through. The process
the communication is key.
is huge.
Yeah.
Because we want them to feel comfortable. We really do.
Yeah.
I always let them know. So here, now, well, what is underwriting? Underwriting is going to sign off on all of those documents you gave us, the story that we told in that application. Then we're going to have, okay, it comes out of underwriting. We're going to have conditions. What are conditions? Well, they've signed off on all your income and your assets, but now we need proof of homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
Waiting on the appraisal for the value to come in, basic things.
Yeah.
I think once homeowners start the process and once they get going, okay, I understand this now.
Well, the other thing I get asked a lot, oh, I already gave my verification of employment.
Yes.
I already gave my bank statements. To be fair, you're getting loaned hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a process that you might need to give and supply certain documents multiple times throughout the process.
And multiple times is really like
twice.
updated bank statements is, okay, you put a deposit on that house. Let's see it clearing your account.
Yeah, right.
And we need to know that you paid for that. And if it was put in and then you wrote the check, well, then we need a gift process if that's what it was. So things will come up during the process on what you provide us.
And you need multiple documentation for even maybe just the same thing.
What's nice about us is we are a lender.
Yeah.
It never varies. Like that one underwriter that will pick up that file will have that file the whole time through. So there's no deviation. Once they say we need A, B, and C for the clear to close, that's all we need.
And it doesn't go to a different underwriter the next time you submit the loan. It goes
Same underwriter
same person.
the whole time.
So they know exactly what they're looking for. They see the one single document that they asked for, and it goes through.
I have an A buyer right now. And she's, I'm going to get denied. Why are you going to get denied? Listen, you're a salaried buyer. So I always like to make it feel like they're part of our family.
Yeah.
I said, hold on a minute. So I merged in my processor and I said, I need you to tell her what a good buyer she is. And she was like, oh my goodness, like if we had you every day, life would be easy, And she said, you don't know what that meant to me. Like I'm going into the weekend.
Yeah.
And now I can, because new buyers don't know.
Yeah.
You gotta keep them up on everything.
Yeah. Communication is key.
Is key, for sure.
Okay. So when we're working together with a buyer, that's exactly what it is. We're working together. Communication, we've already talked about, is so important. And we're really a team. Like, I'm a real estate agent, yes, and I am solely a real estate agent. You're a lender. But we can only work together to make the same goal.
Correct.
We have to work together.
We have to.
Yeah.
Being a team, forming a team is really important.
Yeah. So when we when we get started, step one, you take the application.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll take a full application. I'll ask them with this day and age, hey, can you text me over your pay stubs and your W-2s, most important.
Yeah. And that's how we get the pre-qual.
Right, work their numbers, tell them what they're qualified for. I'm going to send you over a pre-qualification letter.
Yeah, and then that comes to me, which then I do the search. I check all of their criteria. We look at houses, and in the interim,
Back to me, because as you're looking, they'll say, we are going to go see a house with Sheena.
Yeah.
And
do these numbers work?
do they work?
Yeah.
And so we'll look up the taxes. We'll run the payments. Great. Okay. What about closing costs? All those questions. Can you pay for your own closing costs?
Yeah.
Do you need closing costs worked into your loan? Then I'll come back to you and say, here we are. They're good with this.
Which is why it's so important to be a team, because you and I, even without putting in any offers, we are in communication immediately.
Always.
Like, do we need closing costs? What percent are they going to put down? What loan do they qualify for?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So once that is all done, you're putting your offer in. We all sit waiting patiently.
Yeah. Did we get it? Is it multiple offers?
With 40 people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But strong buyers are winning.
Yeah.
And they are. And you're directing them, as you always do, in the right direction, and that's very important.
And so say we get the offer, right? Yes. So I send you the purchase and sale, everything executed. Then what do you do?
I run with it.
Okay.
Within that day or the next day, we make sure, okay, we've got everything we need. We're going to send out disclosures to them. They're going to e-sign them. I always tell them, call me, let's go over everything, because sometimes it's overwhelming for a buyer.
Yeah.
I break down everything for them. We get the application signed. Once that intent to proceed is signed, then we order title.
So you can't even start anything until that intent to proceed is signed.
Correct.
Because when I was buying a house, I remember being like, what is this?
Once that intent
and you're like, you have to sign this.
Once you sign that intent to proceed, we're rolling. We're going to order the appraisal, because appraisers are about 5 to 7 days. We're going to order title from the attorney. They're going to go out and search, make sure there's no liens on the property. Everyone has their job.
Yeah. And then
you're
for
in the middle
us,
of home inspections.
we're doing home inspections,
negotiating.
Remedies, exactly.
Correct.
So,
and as you're doing that, I'm going to keep going. We're
Yep.
going to get them into underwriting. It comes out of underwriting with an approval. Once that approval is, that's when we send the closing disclosure out.
okay.
And that document has to be signed within, there's the 3-day wait. Once they sign it, they cannot close for 3 days.
Yeah. So TRID rule.
Correct. And some
3 days.
Some lenders, some banks, they don't send it out until probably a week before closing. Not a good idea.
Yeah.
What we like to
I've
do
been
is
in that situation.
we do it immediately.
Yeah.
And I have people say to me, oh my goodness, how long is there a 3-day wait? No, because the day we got approval and we're only 5 days in,
Yeah.
we already sent the CD out. So you're good.
I know. I've been in a situation where the lender didn't send the CD for, I was on the selling side,
The closing
but
disclosure,
they
correct.
we didn't get to close because they didn't send it out in time.
It's so important to
So
get that out.
important,
So, and I have people ask all the time, and agents that are just used to the other way. We sent, as soon as that loan is approved, that CD goes out, even if they're not closing for another 20 days.
Yeah.
So that's out of the way. We try to get as much as we can out of the
So
way.
smart.
It's so much easier.
Yeah, I
you
know.
It's a lot better, for
Yeah.
sure.
And we also work hand in hand with an attorney.
Yes.
Because they're the ones that do all the title work and all the recording and everything like that. So
if the property has a shared drive or a shared well, if we need an agreement,
yeah.
then you're reaching out to the attorney. You're going to get that document for us to get it into our underwriter to review to protect our buyer.
Yeah. There's a lot of documents going back and forth during the process.
Yes.
Which is, again, why it's so important to work as a team, the communication. I can't tell you how difficult it is when I'm working with somebody who doesn't communicate, and things get postponed. So open communication is so
huge.
So important.
And I always, if the other side, as you're putting the offer in, if that realtor says, they call, like, have you collected your items? Have you done this? Because they want to accept our offer. I always tell them, call me through the process.
Yeah.
I will be open to tell you we're in approval status.
Yeah.
Or I can, just so they're aware. So even though they're on the other side and they're the listing agent, they're still part of our team.
Yeah.
And with all of us communicating, it just makes it so much better.
Because we all have the same goal. We want to close this house.
We want them to have their dream home. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's huge. Mm-hmm. Communication.
Yeah. So when you're buying a house, and whether it's a first-time home buyer or, a family relocating to a new home, selling their old home, so on and so forth, it is scary. It can be scary.
It sure is.
But
I think the nerves that they have, the jitters, it all depends.
Yeah.
Again, let's go back to who you're working with, because you as their realtor, they look to you for that guidance and that assurance.
Yeah.
And then,
they also look to you for the guidance and assurance.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. We're very upfront, and I tell people, you would not be here right now if I didn't think this was going to happen.
Right.
And that's huge, because there are so many stories of am I going to get this home? And that's where the jitters come in, and they're nervous until the end, but you're in approval status.
Well, because you hear the scary stories that somebody went all the way to the end and they didn't get approved or whatever the case is. Who you work with matters.
Correct.
Who you communicate with and put your trust in matters. Who, you've been doing this for so long. I've been doing this for a certain amount of time. We have the knowledge.
You know the market. Yeah. They're gonna, and I also tell them, and I know that's your expertise, but I also educate the buyers, and they hear what you've said, but they're hearing it from someone else.
Yeah, they're hearing it from two different people, which also implies trust.
Right. And just having the trust in us is a huge portion of this whole diagram of us buying a home, because we are going to take those nerves away. We're going to make you feel comfortable. Yeah. We're going to let you know that you are going to make it to the finish line. We wouldn't be here.
And we'll do anything we can to make it to the finish line for you.
We do. And we do. We'll paint.
Yeah.
We'll do whatever we have to.
Yeah.
I just want to share, in all these years, there's a story that just always pops up, and it's about, I had a client, and honestly it always brings me to tears, because it shows you just that what you do for a client, as you do. This person came, she was a battered wife, and she had 3 children. She was living with her pastor here because she got away from what she was dealing with. Yeah. And she was a CNA, and she was buying a home, and she was so excited that I could get her qualified. Yeah. She actually was referred to a different Suzanne, and then the agent said, "Oh my God, no, you're the wrong Suzanne. I'm sorry, she's not going with you." And I said, "Well, why don't you let the buyer decide at this point?" Because she had met with me, and she gained my trust. Yeah. And so she ended up coming with me. Long story short, there was a patient at their facility that had bruises on them, and so they ended up suspending all of the CNAs on that floor until they investigated it for the family.
Oh no.
She's in the middle of a mortgage process.
Oh, jeez.
And so she said, "What do I do?" And I need paychecks, right? Yeah. So I said, "Get another job. It may take weeks, and you don't have weeks." And it was Christmas. Yeah. And so she went out, she got another job. We ended up, it was Christmas, and she was just so worked up. So I ended up saying to my kids, we looked at her application, we looked at the children. She had 4 kids under the age of 7. Oh. And so we went, we bought them all little gifts. Oh. She was at her pastor's house, and she's like, "Am I getting this house?" And I said, "I wouldn't take you here if you weren't." Yeah. And she got her first paycheck. We closed.
Busted it through.
She closed, and to this day, 5 years later, she sends me at Christmas a picture of her and her kids still in that house.
I love
and that's the trust that,
we build these relationships with our clients that just...
They don't ever go away.
Yeah. This is a really big part of your life when you're buying a house or selling a house and buying a house, whatever the case is. This is such a huge part of your life.
And it's a huge part of our lives, because as I take my Sunday walk with my husband and we do a little drive around Killingly where I've lived my whole life, right? Yeah. I financed that house. I did that house. Yeah. And it's so neat because it's
because you know the people.
This is our area. This is where we
live and work
and people trust us.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions,
If you do, you please reach out to us. We're always here.
Buying or selling, financing, whatever you need, no matter what.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be that. Give us a call.
Right, and we're gonna build on this, right? Because we're gonna bring in, and if it was overwhelming of of our whole, who comes next after the contract, the lender. We're gonna build on it, right?
Yeah. We're gonna have an attorney. We're gonna have an appraiser. We're gonna have a home inspector. Exactly. So
it's gonna
stick with us. Watch more episodes.
Stay tuned. It's gonna be fun and it's gonna be very educational.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Was it okay?
Yeah, I think that was great. What'd you think, Nate?
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I wasn't too good. I'm not a